Hi there, welcome to Learn from Chess Blitz on Chess, episode number 5. As usual, I'm going to play several Blitz games, mainly against viewers. So, simultaneously I will explain everything that comes to my mind. Usually it is called a banter Blitz show, but in my case it is probably not the most accurate name, because rather than trolling you or saying something harsh, I'm going actually to make you learn something new. So, just come and challenge me if you want to play, just as usual. And before I received some challenges from you, I will just send the general challenge. Just like for every episode today, I have a sub goal in addition to teaching you something new. So I'm going to actually stay around 2600 of a blitz rating by the end of the show. So let's see if I will be successful in this way. So let's play several games. Just as usual, just come and challenge me. At the moment, I have no challenges from viewers, so I'll just play some random games. Here we go. Okay, e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4. So Italian, slow Italian, or slow Italian with the d3. And here is the first challenge, by the way. Okay, great. So castles d6, bishop b3, h6. It's important to prevent bishop g5, in my opinion, prior to castling, because I already played d6. This means there might be a problem with this. Okay, knight e2. What about just playing knight g4 here? Actually forcing white to take on c5, because I think it can be good for me. So now, I guess queen e7 should be a solid move. Continuing the development, preparing bishop e6, and another rook to the d file. At the moment we can see that because of this exchange on c5, the d file becomes open. There is a d3 pawn which I can attack probably a bit later. So it makes sense, I guess, just to activate my pieces along the d file a bit. So now I think there is nothing to do for this knight on g4. Let's go away. Knight g3. So how to improve this position further? It's possible to maneuver the knight to g6 as well. So I can put my queen on d3, then knight e7, knight g6, and the knight will exert some pressure on f4. But I guess that my knight on c6 is okay, just protecting e5 and controlling d4 square. So instead, I will try to maneuver another knight there. Let's say this way. And knight to g6. Okay, knight to f5, attacking the queen. If my queen goes to f6, then c5 drops, so it's better to put it on f8. And I think it will be also not that bad to protect c5 additionally. Let's take this. And now let's simplify position a bit. So unfortunately I'm a bit down on time. They have only 50 seconds. Okay, b5 will be not that bad. Yeah, not so clear how to proceed in this position. So it looks like both sides control important squares, files and diagonals. White controls light squares. That is very good. Well, now I think I'm okay. Still have no time though. Yeah, probably draw was not a bad result of this. Okay, so my broadcast started here in Lee Chess, and I have first challenges. So let's play Basilis Mail. Here we go. I'm playing with black. And we played 3 minutes plus 2 seconds. Which means that in case of time trouble, there will be still some time to make more or less normal decisions. So I have a feeling that we already played this during our previous episode. So in my opinion, this queen a4 check makes no sense because black anyways wants to play c6. Because in this case we achieve sort of Carlsbad pawn structure, especially if white plays d4 at some point. So it's kind of forces me to make a move that I want to make anyway. Kind of waste of time, in my opinion. Moreover, if white doesn't play d4, this means that I usually have a chance to grab the space with the d4 move. And last time I played exactly this, as far as I remember. I just played d4, and I was more or less satisfied with the result of the opening. Today I will try something different. I'll try rook e8. Just want white to play d4. To play this typical Carlsbad pawn structure, but with the bishop on g2. Which in my opinion favors black, usually. But d3, so we can see that white wants to play e4 probably, instead of d4. Well, can be a good idea. So let's try to prevent it. Now I'm trying to improve my knight, so d7 was too passive. I want to put this guy somewhere on g6 maybe. Yeah, bishop a5 was a strange decision, because now I'll give my opponent several tempi. Yeah, bishop a5 was bad. In general, this knight e7, rook e8 was a bad idea, so I should have played d4, of course, when I had a chance. Oh, d4. So my opponent finally decided not to play e4. That is maybe a good sign. John Capone asks, can I challenge you? Of course. Please do it if you want to play. Alright, so my opponent also helps me a bit. Now I think it's time to become a bit more aggressive. So knight goes to e4, typical maneuver in Carlsbad pawn structure. Let us occupy this central square. In this particular case, if knight takes e4, I take with the pawn, then d4 will be hanging. And now I'm going to play something like bishop f5 at some point. But here, maybe it makes sense to take on d4. I guess it wins some material. Okay. I want to save my bishop on the board. Bishop takes c3 was also playable, of course, but in this case white would have some compensation for missing pawn because of this great diagonal a1, h8. So imagine the queen on c3, bishop on b2, that looks a bit dangerous to black. So I guess this way is just much better. My bishop is still on the board, it controls a lot. Why not? Queen e7, I think is a move. Now bishop to e6, complete in development. Now probably just a simplification should be good for me, because I have extra pawn after all. So let's do it. Don't see anything wrong with this, because my bishop is protected by the knight. So if bishop takes e5, knight takes e5, and knight goes somewhere to d3 maybe, to f3, also good square. There's only one problem with this move, yeah. But bishop c8 is still possible. Looks passive, but I think it's alright. So a bit later I will just push this knight with the help of b6. And if now check or something, then king h7. So I'm fine, still fine. Probably it was possible not to give my opponent this interesting opportunity to occupy c5 with the tempo or something. Don't know. I don't have a lot of time. And by the way, this increment of 2 seconds is very helpful. I still can't think of decisions I make. Now it feels like queen d1 should be very good. Let's do it. Check. Now, can I play f4? Yeah, f4 looks very interesting, just connecting my bishop to the attack. Okay. And now, bishop h3 looks very tempting, but I think this is a bit easier. Might be wrong though. This gives me extra minor piece and probably winning position technically. Okay, so that was an interesting game, and I think this queen a4 idea, as I said before, is a strange thing that white does. At very least, I don't think that queen c2 is a good move here, so probably it makes sense to leave the queen here on a4 and just to play d4. Because after queen c2, very promising for black just to play d4. I played this during our previous encounter, and I had very good position with black, because I managed even to play d3 at some point, completely paralyzing white's queen side. So to sacrifice the pawn this way, and so on. So this time I decided to play rook e8, and that was a wrong decision because you could have played d4 here. I mean, after d4, we have just an equal position. After d4, on the move number 8, I mean, here, I think black is already slightly better. So, after my rook e8, the best move was d2, d4. You made castling, I played knight d7, and here you played d3, which was quite good. But d4 was also possible. But I think in this particular case, when you have a chance to play e4, it's even better. So to bishop b4, it was interesting just to play a3 immediately, because if my bishop goes away somewhere to d6, you can play e4. If I take on c3, you just take with the pawn, and you have pair of bishops, and very good position, in my opinion. So it's kind of good control over central squares. Black has no concrete counterplay here, and, well, white can improve position gradually. So I think a3 at some point was good. But you played also not bad, so you actually played this, b4, bishop b6, but here d4 was already not that good. So it was much better to play knight a4, just to continue chasing my bishop, and I guess white should be slightly better because, look, you won a lot of time here. So if I put my bishop to c7, then bishop c7, queen c7, and b5, something like this is possible, and white starts exerting annoying pressure on the queen side. Okay, anyways, thanks for the game. The next is John Capone. Let's play John Capone. 5+2. And I'm playing with white. e4, c5, knight a3. We have Sicilian. Okay. d4. Knight takes d4, knight f6, and what? Yeah, e5 leads to Sveshnikov. All right, bishop g5, main line. a6, knight a3. And bishop e6, okay. That is one of side lines. b5 is the main line, of course. I don't remember exactly what to do here, but I think that knight c4 should be just a good move. Because usually there is a problem with the knight. And since black didn't play b5, restricting my knight, I think it's a good idea just to maneuver this knight to e3 when there is a chance. Also, my knight now attacks d6. So maybe it's possible for me just to take on f6 now. So if I take on f6, queen f6, knight d6 check is possible. Not quite sure. That is a good idea. Well, it feels good. Feels good. So bishop f6, queen f6, knight d6, bishop d6, queen takes d6. Then what? Knight on c6 is hanging, so now goes to d4, most likely. And then I can even castle long, I guess. And I'm fine. So the bishop f6, most likely black will just take with the pawn. And then my knight goes to e3, controlling a lot of important squares. So I think it deserves attention, at very least. Let's do it. Yeah. Now knight e3, controlling important squares. f5 and d5. So black's pawn structure now is already damaged. So long term I should be better. And usually black has to compensate this drawback with active counterplay. Otherwise, well, white will gradually win this. So every drawback has to be compensated somehow. That is the rule of thumb. Oh. So it's usually quite hard to play in the evening. I'm a bit tired. But to play early in the morning is also not that cool because the brain is still sleeping. For example, my previous two streams on Saturday and Sunday morning were disastrous. Just enormous quantity of blunders and so on. But of course it depends, so there is no guarantee. I mean, there is no ideal time. That's what I mean. Alright, bishop g7. Now it's very tempting just to play knight c3 to d5. So let's occupy this great square with the knight. And the next will be something like c3, just restricting knight c6, I guess. So controlling d4 square. Yeah, let's say this way. So now I want to complete my development. A simple way, something like queen f3, maybe bishop d3 and so on. There's also a good idea just to play bishop e2, then bishop to g4. And then occupy this f5 square. Let's do exactly this. I like the idea of occupation of f5. Ali7 says, for me it's always morning time. What exactly? The best time to play or the worst time to play? So h3, preparing bishop to g4. Because once again, for some reasons I want to save my queen on the board. Because I have a feeling that if I occupy f5, then there will be just a direct attack. Black decides to play f5 himself. Maybe a good idea, but I think that after this capture and simple bishop g4, I managed to grab the control over f5. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this bishop g4 was a bad move. I don't know. Yeah, definitely Lichess says that taking on e6 will be a mistake. That is an absolute true. And by the way, I just underestimated this bishop e6 move. Now black will play f5. Yeah, so it's much better for me just to take on f5, of course. Grabbing the very important light squared bishop. Yeah. Now it looks at very least not clear, because f5 is common. Yeah, very bad. Very, very bad. So I guess I have to go back. That was all stupid. Very stupid. All this idea with taking on f5 then bishop g4. It was much better just to take on f5, of course. And then I could have become just the sole proprietor of light squares on the board. Don't know why didn't I do this. Have no idea. Just didn't see that after bishop e6 f5 is prepared already. That was my fault. So what to do now? Black's position already looks very, very cool. So g4 is kind of the idea. Still fighting for f5 squared. Looks a bit crazy, but still makes sense, I think. So let's try this g4. So I have a feeling that if I play f4, well, it will be just too slow. I want to grab light squares still. Black is absolutely fine now. But I think I will have some tricks. I'll have some tricks based on weakness of light squares in black's camp. I could have played this much better than I did. That's for sure. Yeah, to be honest, black is just better here. Simply better. Oh, my queen is almost trapped. My goodness. Well, that is amazing. Queen a3 was so possible here. But okay. Let's keep playing this. Only move. Have to take. Have a feeling that black could have played this much better. Now I have some chances, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there is nothing absolutely. Alright, so I won, but I didn't deserve winning this game, of course, because I played it badly. Of course, my opponent, well, played the opening stage in a quite dubious way, so giving me a chance to actually damage the pawn structure here. I guess white is already much better. So white could have played this much better than I did. Instead of this bishop e2, bishop g4 maneuver, it was also possible just to play bishop d3, for example, simply controlling f5 square and then, yeah, getting to opponent's weaknesses gradually. There's also an interesting idea just to play b4 at some point, right? Just fixing everything here on the queen side, leaving black without counterplay, then bishop d3 and so on. So bishop e2 is also good, but after queen c8, first of all, it was necessary for me to think of this f5 possibility. That was my first mistake, that I simply didn't even consider f5 for some reason. So it was possible to play bishop g4 here, controlling f5. And if black doesn't react, I just play bishop f5. And I'm fine with this. So that is exactly my idea, just to occupy f5. And if bishop takes on g4, well, I have very pleasant choice between taking with the knight and also taking with the queen. So this endgame, in my opinion, is also very promising for white. But I guess in this particular case, attacking this f6 would have been much better. So knight takes g4, and yeah, f6 is hanging. I'm going to play queen f3. Next move, adding another piece attacking this f6. And at some point, I can simply come back to e3 with the knight and then to occupy this f5 after all. So white's advantage here is based on the very bad bishop g7 and very bad pawn structure. So my h3 move simply makes no sense here. That was my mistake. I played h3. And after, let's say, f5 takes f5 takes f5, bishop at g4 was just an awful decision. I forgot completely about this bishop e6. So my initial idea was to force black to play something like bishop takes g4. And after h takes g4, of course, white has strategically winning position. Again, because of this great outpost for various pieces. So the knight goes to f5, or queen goes to f5, or rook goes to f5. So everything can be placed here on f5, and each and every piece being placed on f5 will be just perfect. And also, as we can see, h5 becomes open, so it's possible to attack this h7 pawn. So position is very close to be absolutely winning for white. But bishop e6, perfect move, and after bishop e6, I have no resources to prevent actually this f5. And the rest is just my try to outplay my opponent, using some tricks. I was successful, maybe because of just the fact that I have more experience and so on. But to be honest, already here I prefer black. Alright, so let's go further. The next is Aris07 Let's Play. Black pieces. Here we go. e4, e5. Knight f3, knight c6. And Lopez. Okay. Exchanged variation. Hi, Andrei, are you Russian? No, I'm not. I'm Ukrainian. Originally. Queen f6 is one of interesting lines to avoid the main line with the f6 and then with the that line leads to this famous endgame, very boring one in my opinion. And this queen f6, well, provokes white to play something like bishop g5. But if white wants to achieve the position without queens, of course, he has a chance to do this. For example, this queen d4 is a typical method. Okay, so let's try bishop g4. It's possible. I mean, if white plays e5 with the pawn, I have queen g6 protecting the bishop. So there is nothing wrong with this. So black's game position is troubling. Yeah, that is just a first impression. In fact, everything is fine. Everything is fine if black plays accurately. Okay, now I think the best that black can do is actually exchanging queens after all. And there is just a bit better version of this endgame because I didn't play f6. I didn't play f6, which means that I can use this square for other pieces, but it's not clear if it gives me anything concrete. As we can see, the placement of knights is not very usual, because the knight should goes to c3. Here it is on d2, so it a bit limits active possibilities of white's pieces for a while. White will probably try something like f3. There is also an interesting idea of playing knight c4, but knight c4 at the moment doesn't work because of bishop e2, I guess. At the same time, it's not clear how to develop my pieces. For instance, knight e7, f3, bishop goes to e6, knight c5 is a bit annoying. Maybe it makes sense for me just to play b6 here, covering c5, solving the problem of knight c5 or something just for forever. Let's try this. Just waiting a bit with the development of my pieces because it's not clear where to put them, in fact. Knight c4, I think this drops material after bishop e2. So if white wanted to play knight c4, of course it was necessary to play f3 with the pawn. Now I just win the exchange, and it looks like for no compensation. Well, but I still have to convert it somehow. g6, I just want to prevent knight f5. At the same time, I guess position of my bishop on g7 will be quite good if compared to any other position on the board. f4. Okay, white will have a chance to play e5 if he wants, but I will just undermine this pawn, and I guess this will help me to open up the files. That is exactly what I want to do. Because when you have an extra exchange, you want to activate your rooks. The best way to do this is to create as many open files as possible. King e2. Synchronic says, by the way, then listen to me, I'm like 1500s player, lol, lot of love. Come on, I'm not listening to you, I'm just reading what you type there in comments, and well, if you say something interesting, maybe correct, maybe not correct, I just want to give you my opinion about the problem. That is exactly why we're here, right? Yeah. Redux came. Hola. King e2. Okay, knight f6 looks natural. So if white plays e5, I can just play knight d5, trying to simplify position even more. And e5 will be played 100% sooner or later, because if king f3, then I just play another rook to e8 attacking this pawn e4. And now I think I can simply improve my pawn structure. It was a drawback having these doubled pawns. Now there is no such a drawback in my position, so my position became definitely better after this exchange on d5 on me. So now I have to undermine e5 pawn at some point, maybe just right now, to open up the e file. And if e6, well, I'll just play f5. Breaking the connection between f and e pawns, making e6 just a weakness. Now I want to take the knight on d4 to win the pawn on e6. Or just to play c5 with the same idea. And once I win this once I win this e pawn and occupy the e file, I think that everything becomes absolutely clear. Simplification takes. Okay, white managed to close this one, but now I have an extra pawn in addition to my extra exchange. This should decide sooner or later. Now I'm ready to take on c4. h4. Okay. Yeah, the rest is simple. Okay, I think, well, everything is clear. White just blundered this bishop e2, so knight c4 was a decisive mistake. After that, I have just a great advantage. So instead of knight c4, it was better to play f3, preventing me from occupying e2, forcing my bishop somewhere on e6 square. Of course, I understand after that it is not that simple to complete a development because I control c4 square, but it's still possible to do this gradually. I mean, rook e1, knight to f1, bishop to e3. So most likely white simply has nothing here. Maybe black's position is already a bit more pleasant to play, but still it was much better than playing this knight to c4. It was also possible to try like h3 move instead of f3. Also an interesting idea because most likely I still have to go somewhere to e6. Another idea, which is also interesting here, is not to make a pawn move, but to put the rook on e1. Immediately create a threat of knight c4 or knight to f1. And yeah, after all, I think rook e1 is the best try here. Multi-purpose move, trying to continue with the development. That's the main idea after all. Yeah, let's go further. So here we go. Several challenges. Kramnik student is here, but okay, I will play Kramnik student a bit later. Puppets. Let's play. Another question. What about Russian language? What do you mean? I'm not sure I got your question. Well, Russian language exists. Rui Lopez. So maybe I will play this exchanged variation in this game. So I just played it with black pieces. Now it's time to try it with white pieces. So h3, bishop h5, a tricky line to be honest. So I mean I can play g4 and knight takes e5, but I don't like the idea of winning this pawn because this definitely gives black a counterplay. There is only one line that guarantees white's advantage, but I don't remember it, so I don't want to get these risks. Well, Anton, you can write, of course, yeah. You can write any language you want. That is, of course, not prohibited. f6. All right, bishop e3 now. Then knight to d2. And actually, the fact that I didn't take this pawn on e5 completely justified the bishop h5 move. So my point is here that actually black wanted to force me to play h3 to create this hook. And now at some point black will just come up with the counterattack of g5, g4, and so on. .92. .97. And it starts looking a bit strange, so I expected castling long, to be honest. But everything says that my opponent wants to castle short. Well, at least it feels like this. All right. Let's make this neutral move. g5. So first and foremost, I want to get rid of this bishop on h5. It's annoying. It's really annoying. And it goes away. In the view of knight g3, probably. And now black wants to do what? To play h5 and g4. So it will be very good for me just to go away with the knight f3 once there is a threat of g4. Don't know, maybe to do this right away with the knight e2. There is also another interesting idea just to come up with the d4. Break through in the center. And since black's king is still on e8, this might be promising. Let's try d4, it feels like a correct idea. Yeah, if my opponent, instead of bishop g6, would have played g4, I would probably go with the knight to h4 even, just to prevent... Yeah, maybe knight h2 is even better, just attacking g4. And the pawn on g4 is pinned. Bishop takes e4. So really excess, I really hate playing with white in this opening, I simply hate to be attacked. Well, it's not clear who attacks whom. So it feels like I start my attack now. D takes e5 looks pretty cool. Bishop takes g5 is also very promising. But I'll start with this simple d takes e5. So that is my target. I mean h5 square. I can get there very soon. Bishop e5. So the golden rule of any sort of attack, all the pieces should be in the play. So rook a to d1 looks like an automatic move to me. Now, bishop takes g5 or queen h5 first. Let's start with the queen h5, clarifying the position of the king. Maybe it stays on e8. So knight g6, I don't know, I will probably just take on g5. Or maybe I will play bishop c5, preventing castling. Maybe even queen h6. Queen h6 is interesting, with the same idea. Okay, now bishop g5 looks very good. Queen f5, okay. Bishop h6 is more or less forced. Feels like that. Queen h6 check is also good. Don't know. Both look very promising. Now I have to regroup my pieces because I definitely don't want to exchange queens. So let's start with this move. Going away. Now, knight to g3. Looks like a useful improvement of the position, because bishop g3 leads to queen takes e7, winning. Now queen to c4 also looks very promising. So now I wanted just to take on d5, but I'm not sure if it is correct. It should be winning, but I'm not quite sure, and I don't have a lot of time, so I have to be quick. I definitely have very big compensation, but most likely I could have played this much better than I did. Because now it feels like black has chances to survive it. Yeah, let's take one more pawn. Wow. Let's take here. Check. And takes on d1. Guarantees a great material advantage, decisive one. Yeah. So I definitely could have played this better, but well, I missed the thread somehow. So let's have a look at this quickly. Definitely this maneuvers with bishop g6 were not very good for black. So in my opinion, the best way of playing it was like, yeah, after I played this bishop e3, after I played this d3 and so on, f6 was absolutely correct. But after bishop e3, it was much better just to start developing the pieces on the queen side, just preparing castling long, something like queen e7, and then just castling long and doing the same. So for example, knight e2 castles, and now g5, h5, after bishop goes away to f7 probably, and so on. And black should be, yeah, a bit better here, I believe, because there is a good hook in the form of pawn h3. Of course, there are also hooks on the queen side, pawns c6 and a6, so I can use it after I play b4, a4, b5. But my attack looks a bit slow here, because to prepare b4, I have to play c3. Once I play c3, d3 becomes weak. If I play a3 and b4, then I have to somehow protect b4 prior to playing a4 and so on. While black's attack looks like automatic g5, bishop goes away, h5, g4, and so on. Of course, I won't give you a chance to play g4 so easily, so at some point my knight simply goes away from f3. And I'm ready to close the position if you play g4, just play h4. But still, this looks like a very good playable position for black. Okay. Yeah. So what we achieved here is a typical violation of golden rule of development in the opening stage, and actually giving me this free attack. So maybe queen h5 wasn't the best move here. But maybe it's okay. Maybe it's okay. Probably rook to d1 wasn't the best. So it actually improved the position of the queen, because on d8 it's definitely ugly. But on c8 it's ready to go to f5. So probably it was better just to play bishop takes g5 immediately without these complications, and to see how this works. Yeah, because if castles, then bishop h6 is very annoying. Maybe there is no direct way to checkmate black's king, but yeah, the pawn structure is much better. There are a lot of different possibilities, so queen can go to b3 at some point and so on. Yeah, that was a good chance for white to improve. All right, let's go further. So what do we have here? Archie. Let's play Archie. And again, white's pieces. And Ruy Lopez again, right? Or not? Let's keep playing this until it starts giving bad results. It's not f6. What is that? Can I just take on e5 here? Let's try it. Maybe it was better just to protect e4, in fact. I don't know. So if I would have played rook to e1, there was possible queen d4 or something, attacking f2 and protecting the knight simultaneously. Here, looks like I have a d3 move, right? Yeah, strange position. So queen e7 is probably the only move here. Still with some tricks. Yeah, really strange. Bishop d6 counter-attacking the knight, but now I can take on e4. Queen e7 was the idea, there was the idea of just taking on e5 then with the queen after I take on e4 and pinning my pawn e4. Here I can just take on e4 winning the minor piece, simply. Yeah, that's just a blunder. Alright, that's quite simple, right? I just have extra minor piece and no compensation. So somehow I think I should manage. Yeah, there is nothing to comment, of course, because white has simply winning position. No questions. I mean, black has no counterplay at all. No compensation. Simply extra minor piece. Yeah, let's keep developing pieces, right? What can be better than that? The only thing I can miss here is a checkmate on h2, maybe. So I will try to do my best not to miss that trick. Yeah. Probably the last try. So what is better, to take on f5 simply, or just to play e5 here? e5 looks also cool. Let's play e5 instead. Oh, I blundered a bit. I thought I would have queen c4, then knight takes c5, but after queen c4 there is bishop f7. But maybe it is also not bad for white, right? Let's do it. Why not bishop g5? Because of bishop takes f3 mainly. There was a question from chat. So I started doing some stupid things. Might be punished for it, but I hope I won't be punished so easily. I still control the position. Sometimes it might be a strategy, like, yeah, get an absolutely losing position and then just, yeah, playing. Just keep playing as if there had been just a normal position. And your opponents start thinking not about what is going on the board, but something like Why does he still play? Huh? Why? And so on. So he loses concentration and then starts making blunders or something. Okay, knight g5, bishop g5, queen g5, queen g5, bishop g5, rook d2, bishop d2 is okay. The opposite order of moves should be also okay. So now g5, rook d2, bishop d2, I still control everything. Now bishop e5 at some point, then queen h4. So let's take. In analysis, please show why not bishop g5. Okay, no problems. We'll see that. So now I get extra rook, because rook f8 is trapped. Alright, so let's have a look at that. That was a strange line, so knight f6, kind of, yeah, strange move. But it feels like it's possible, because after 95, 94, first I thought that there will be very simple rook e1 refutation, but then I noticed this queen d4. And probably that is exactly where I made a mistake, because here I have a follow-up in the form of queen f3. Simply attacking f7 and the knight on e4. And it doesn't feel like black has a defense, normal defense, I mean. So if queen e5, then rook takes e4, and that's it, game over. And if, let's say, f5 move, well, it's very hard to believe it's playable, I mean. But maybe it is. Maybe black is still here. Black is still alive. Yeah, very strange position. But okay, I just played queen to e2, bishop f5. So most likely g4 was possible here as well as anything else. So like attacking the bishop. And then if bishop goes to g6, I just take it and take on e4. Everything can be here. I just played d3 because I thought, okay, knight goes away and so on. But then I realized that queen e7 is okay. More or less okay, of course. Because now if I take on e4, then queen takes on e5 and my pawn e4 is pinned. That's the idea. Yeah. And if I play rook e1, then bishop goes away. If I play f4, then everything is possible, including queen c. Well, queen c5 check is not a good idea, but queen e4 is absolutely playable there. Yeah, so queen e7, maybe queen d4 was the last normal way of playing this, in my opinion. Because after queen e7, I think if I want to achieve something, I have to take on c6, bc6, d takes e4. So I'm trying to play against these pawns on a queen side. So I still have to be better because I have better development and better pawn structure, but it was still playable. So bishop d6 was just, yeah, losing the minor piece, and there are, yeah, just a lot of different ways to get to the winning position. After f5, so there was a suggestion of playing bishop g5, but I wasn't sure about bishop takes f3, but maybe I was wrong. Yeah, after rook already on d2, it's possible just to take here, and after bishop takes e2, just bishop takes d8. Yeah, absolutely winning position. You were absolutely right. So bishop g5 was kind of winning move. Yeah, but I was already kind of in a state of lost concentration, so I didn't calculate much because position is winning. Yeah, just every way you want, any way you want. That's probably a mistake. This is, by the way, the typical mistake over the board. You just stop thinking critically and you can be punished for it. But anyways, okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Artur Navarovsky says, thank you for game. Was it what that you playing this right now? My goodness, Artur, you can do this much better. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Who's here? It's time to play Chronic Student, I think. But can you please actually make one more challenge, not 3 minutes, because 3 minutes is just too much. I mean, not the opposite meaning. I mean, it's not very good for playing 3 minutes against you because you play very good, very decent chess. So prior to playing you, I will play Migtal. Okay, I'll play Migtal. Yeah. Mick, come on. E4, D4, C4, F4, G3. There are a lot of possible moves. Okay. We'll play some classics. Play some classics today. Tonight. For somebody it could be the day, of course. Castles. And the main line of Nimzo Indian. Here I usually play d6. And try to prepare e5. Just like that. And now I usually play this to stop the pawn on c4, which means that white is prevented from grabbing the space with the help of c5. Bishop on e2 remains more or less passive. And, well, in general I want to put my pawns on dark squares. That's the point. For example, like this. Bishop b2, bishop b7. Rook d1, and there is a threat of just taking on e5. So where to put my queen? I think to c7 is better. Just targeting h2. At some point, might be good. Okay, knight e2. My pawn e5 is no longer hanging, so maybe it's a good moment to regroup my pieces a bit. So knight f8. I want to put my knight on g6. Bishop f3 is an interesting move, by the way, so it's very tempting for me to play e4 now. But after e4, I actually make bishop b2 very active, so it will be just a double-edged decision. Bishop takes f3 on the other hand gives my opponent a chance to exert some annoying pressure on light squares, especially d5 long term. But I still believe that e4 in this position will be not that cool. So I will just keep doing what I wanted. So I put my knight on g6. And then we will see. g3. Well, this weekend's light square is a lot. This weekend's light square is a lot. This might be very good for me. But let's start with rook to d8. I'm not sure if I need this rook on the d file, honestly. Absolutely not sure. But why not? I think rook d8 is just a normal follow-up here. I have some tactical threats. After g3, well, bishop on f3 no longer feels very safe. Now it's protected, of course. What about just taking it right now? Looks very good, isn't it? So Queen C6 is very tempting now. As well as H5 or something. Let's start with this. So now we have to fight for light squares first and foremost. So let's do it. Let's attack. And we shouldn't forget about D3 squares, so at some point it could be very tempting to occupy it, but at the moment I can't see a possibility to do this. As I said before, I want to avoid playing E5, E4, making this bishop b2 extremely active, so. I want to try avoiding this. Oh, F4. Now this becomes very interesting, so. First of all, E takes F4 looks very good. E takes F4, then rook E2. My god. This looks kind of decisive. Let's take it. But it's also double-edged a bit. Let's put the rook here. I can't stand doing it. There should be something, right? So rook F2. No, rook D2. Rook D2, rook D2, rook E1 check, rook F1, takes F1, king F1, queen H1 check, king goes to E2. Not clear. Okay. Yeah. I felt there is something, but didn't see this immediately. Had something else in mind. I had some problems with timing, but I have extra queens, so I have to win this, right? Yeah. Okay. Very interesting game, but G3 was a serious mistake. That's for sure. So let's have a look at this quickly. G3 just not in the spirit of this position. So what white has to do here is actually to probably take on B7 and then to play queen C2, knight B1, knight C3. That is a typical plan. So maybe even avoiding playing bishop to F3. So that is the plan. So queen C2 in this pawn structure, and then knight goes through B1 to C3, and white tries to occupy D5 square. If necessary, it is also possible just to play F3 and E4 at some point, and long term white should be better here. That's the idea. G3 just weakens a lot, and now black is definitely good. That's my opinion. All right, let's go further. So Kramnik student is here. Let's play. Where is the 5 minutes? Yeah, we have, yeah, 5 minutes. Here we go. All right, so again, this Scotch. Let's play this. This time I will try to avoid a5 move, so let's play this immediately. Let's castle. And attack e5. So now there will be an endgame with the extra pawn for black most likely. But there will be definitely some counterplay, I guess, for white. It's typical thing here. Because I have a bad bishop here on a6 at the moment. But I do hope it's just a temporal issue. So let's start with the rook e2 move or something. Don't know, is it a good idea because of knight e4 there? Maybe bishop b4 deserves attention here, just for now. I guess to f3. Rook goes to, you know, e2 or e8. Yeah, there are a lot of things to calculate in such a position usually. There is also a very solid way just going away with the rook. So let's do it. And f6. A bit passive, I know. At the same time, quite solid. So now bishop b4 wins me a tempo. Of course, I think it's not very important to win tempo here, but still pleasant. Okay, now to do what? To play d5, I think. This makes sense. To get rid of this prison for my minor pieces mainly. All right, let's go away. From the C asks, this opening was the exchange right? No, there was Scotch. Yeah, this looks fine now. I have extra pawn and looks like good chances to convert it. Probably the most solid defense of the d5. Okay. Now the plan is needed, how to convert it. First of all, I'd like to improve the position of my bishop. So let's go here. Now d5 is heading, so king has to go away from the c file. Let's stop this. And grab b4 square for the bishop. b3 also became weak. So this is additional object of attack for me, so for d1, bishop c2 then. It's quite hard to find the good counter play for white here, because it feels like black controls everything with his pawns and pieces. Knight goes to b1. Alright. So why not bishop b4? Bishop d4. Well, I guess this simplification should be okay. The knight is hanging now, and I can simply go to get this pawn probably. Should I do this right now or not? Yeah, why not? Let's do it. Now I just take on c3. This should be winning. Very interesting. Four bishops attacking each other at the same time, right? There is an interesting question. How do you decide to play solid? I get that you're plan a defense, but while you had no problems, your pieces seem to be in awkward squares. Is there a generic plan or concept? Well, so it's a natural thing for this concrete variation. So it feels like pieces are actually on awkward squares, but there is usually a potential of making them active. Thanks for the game, Ceramic Student. Actually, now we have both this homework for our next encounter, hopefully next Friday on Chess24. So yeah, I have no idea how to improve this with white, to be honest. It will be better for you to investigate it yourself. After knight e2 and bishop a6, the only thing that I think here, b3 is good. Just preparing bishop b2 and quick castling, followed by queen e4 and so on. So there are a lot of different orders of moves in this variation. It's a very complicated system for both sides to play. Yeah, positional explanation is also quite vague here. So black tries usually to do what? To come up with quick development, then a counterattack against c4, e5, and so on. So at very first glance, it looks like white's pawn structure is much better, and long term it is definitely so. But if black manages to counterattack, then usually he has just sufficient counterplay at very least. Okay. So even this g3 I think is pliable, so this sacrifice, maybe here b3 was too slow, but on the other hand, how to play. So knight f3, alright, rook goes away. Anyways, white has to play b3, right? So I don't know, to be honest. So maybe bishop b2 is not correct. Maybe knight to e4 was better here, creating sort of knight g5, followed by something like bishop e3 trying to occupy c5 square. That is also an interesting plan. There can be also the things based on a4, a5 quickly. So there are a lot of different things. So this sort of positions usually very complicated. All right, so let's keep playing. Let's keep playing. Who's next? Who is next? So Redix. Let's play Redix. Yep. Let's play Redix, because last time it was not very good. I mean, we played just a normal game, and then all of a sudden Redix just pressed the resign button and lost the game. That was not very fair, but come on. This happens, right? So e3 with the idea of d4. Let's play just knight f6. Mick also asks, why not f4 protecting your pawn? f4 is also possible, but well, there is also the further undermining activities like f6, d6 usually. So when black already has both heavy pieces along the e file, it's very hard to save the pawn on the board anyways. Yeah. So d5, we have a transposition to color system if white wants, and plays d4. d4. And here I usually like to develop my light squared bishop prior to playing e6. One of possible ways of playing it. Another one is just to play normal c5, knight c6, or e6, b6, bishop b7, c5 setup. So these things are all possible. c4, aggressive. Let's protect it with the c6. Knight d7. At one moment it even felt like Trompovsky reversed, right? With the bishop on g4. Very close to that. But now it's kind of Carlsbad pawn structure with my bishop already developed on g4 and white's bishop being passive on c1. So I think it is a good version for black. That's the point. Rook e1. So let's castle. Queen c2. Usually the rook goes to e8 here. Why not in this particular case? So I actually enjoy my position. It will be not that simple for white to come up with the typical minority attack on the queen side, because all the pieces are quite passive here. So b3, as we can see, instead of active b4. But b4 wasn't possible, of course, right away. It's possible to prepare it somehow, like a3 or rook b1. So what about knight e4 here? Is it a good moment for active operations? So knight e4, knight e4, d takes e4, knight goes to, let's say, d2. Bishop takes e2, rook takes e2. Queen jumps to h4, g3. Not clear. Not clear. Do I have a chance to improve my position even more prior to getting to e4 square? I don't know. So I can come up with the same maneuver like in the game against Mick. Knight f8, knight g6. Do I achieve anything concrete there? Most likely no. That is a typical dilemma in this position usually, so to start this active play with a knight e4 or not. Let's try it. That's interesting. And it feels like a correct moment because at the moment I have a better development. So starting active operations should be justified. Well, at very least after knight e4, d4, knight e2, bishop e2, rook e2 and queen h4, I have very active setup. I have very good square at d5. So it's kind of, yeah, French defense reversed type of position. Let's see. So there was a command knight f8, knight g6 is probably not good because the f4 square is not available for this piece. Yeah, true, but in many cases this knight then jumps to h4 with the attack against g2. So imagine my knight is already on g6 in this position. If if white takes on e4, I take on e4, knight goes away from f3 somewhere. I have this resource like knight h4, and then with the attack against g2. That is usually the idea behind knight f8, knight g6 maneuver. Okay, h3. Forcing me to f5, more or less. Bishop h5 was also possible, of course. But it feels like it is a bit more natural position for the bishop. So now, what to do now? How to proceed? Bishop on f5 is hanging, so I guess it's okay just to protect it. a3. Let's protect the knight this way. Now I can exert further pressure on white's position. And I have to be faster because I have only 1 minute on the clock. All right. Let's take it this way. Very interesting. Yeah, this probably makes my whole idea not very good. So if I take on e5 twice, there is knight e4 trick. Rook takes e4, bishop takes f6. That's the point. Okay. I'm still slightly better, but I have no time. That's a big problem. At least I'm threatening with a checkmate or something. Just going all in. Don't know if I'm right. Yeah, I won on time, and position also became winning by the end of the game. Very interesting encounter. I have a feeling that I started playing very bad somewhere here. Just let's come back. So this great resource of knight a5 was really cool. So the point behind this was that if I take twice on e5, then there is knight takes e4. Extremely annoying. Attacking the rook with a bishop b2, and if I take on e4, then there is a bishop f6 move. So the point is that if I take the bishop, there is queen takes e4 with the extra exchange for white. What I missed here is that I had a chance just to play queen e8, protecting the rook. And we have very complicated patterns, so with opposite colored bishops. But it's probably just a simply equal position. So I actually expected knight d2 with queen e7 and with some pressure. So definitely knight e5 was great. Which means that probably bishop h5 wasn't good, wasn't in time. And instead, it was probably better for me to try something like rook c8 with further bishop to b8 followed by queen d6. Just, yeah, exerting pressure on this h2, and then it would be just logical to exert pressure on f3 or something. Yeah, okay. Yeah. So, very nice. Very nice. Very interesting thing. Ridix, I was playing 2 games. What does it mean? That's interesting. So Ridix was given a simultaneous exhibition, actually. Very good. Very nice. So you were actually distracted a bit, right? Yeah, for actually this, you played really cool. Really cool. Oh, by the way, my wife, accompanied by my son, came back. So probably I will have to finish the broadcast very soon, but well, I guess we will still play several games. So let's pick somebody I didn't play it before, so this guy. Yeah, no games. Camel Clutcher. Let's do it. e4. c5, knight f3. Sicilian, and one of very, very annoying lines to play with white. Let's try the Maroczy bind setup against it. Yeah, my son is crying. You can probably hear this on the background, right? There's the question, another interesting one. What do you recommend for players below 2000 FIDE looking to improve? Well, actually everything. But try not to spend all the time on openings. It's better just to read books on general topics. And also try to improve within the endgame. If you will master endgames, you will feel like your general understanding increases. That is what I did many years ago. That was a good approach, in my opinion. Rook c8. After b3, how does white react to d5? I have no idea, so probably I missed something already. Kind of, yeah, lost concentration. Let's come up with something active. So we have one of typical Hedgehog positions. So black's position usually looks very passive, but in fact it is really poisonous. So black usually has this b5 or d5 undermining moves, where it has to be extremely careful about all this activity. Knight f8 followed by knight g6 is also a typical maneuver here, just provoking white to make something in the center. There is always a question, is it a good moment to come up with sort of e5, let's say, in this position, but it doesn't feel like a correct idea, just right away at least. So let's start with this move, just improve it a bit more. So as we can see, all my pieces are somehow directed to the king side, but it doesn't mean that I have something concrete. So now let's say f5 deserves serious attention. I guess should be a good idea. I give up e5 square, but I managed to do something really important, I think, to have the knight on f5. It's just amazing attacking piece. And now knight to h6 starts looking very tempting at any moment. But first, I want to improve my queen. And of course, knight d5 is a resource. This should be played a bit later. So let's put the queen here. Very interesting position. So knight e5 now, or not? Knight e5 looks very natural, so let's do it. It opens a lot, because I think black is forced to take on d5. And then all of a sudden all my pieces start attacking. So of course I will take with the e4 pawn, opening up diagonal b1 h7 for my bishop. And as you can see, bishop on b7 starts feeling very bad. g6. Every time when I see such a move, I start looking for a decisive combination or something. That maybe I just overestimate my position here. So knight e6, bishop d6 doesn't give me anything concrete. Okay, let's just improve the position a bit. Maybe it is also too much. Okay, so now I think that should be winning. I think g takes f5. This greedy move was just okay. Now I have an advantage. Let's get rid of unnecessary pieces here. Just simplify everything and win the game. It will be not simple though. Black still has good chances. Let's try to undermine all this shit. Oh my goodness. No, everything's fine. For now, I thought that after rook d2 I lose, but then queen e8 and queen f8 checkmate saves me. Wow. That could have been just very bad. Okay, so... I anyway missed something, right? Now that's bad. Wow, I'm just being smashed here. Feels like that. All of a sudden. Phew, amazing. It's just amazing. Yeah, we'll lose on time, I think. Most likely. No. Well, actually, I was very lucky because I think I was very close to lose this. All of a sudden, wow. So the position looked very good during all the game, but then, wow, something wrong happened. Let's have a look at that. So, first of all, this moment. Yeah, queen f4 is not correct. I have a feeling that after queen f4, it's possible just to take on f5. After queen takes f5, creating this thread, it's possible to play f6, creating, sorry, not creating, but connecting the queen to h7. And after queen takes f6, well, queen g7, I think black has great chances, not even to survive it, but to win this gradually. That is just something. So I realized this only after I played queen f4. That was a stupid decision. I didn't see anything here. I mean, maybe I have some tactics based on knight h6, but, well, highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. And probably it was a better thing to me to try something like queen h4, but still the same. Should be still the same after g takes f5. Absolutely not clear. Absolutely unclear. It's very strange. So position looks absolutely winning for white after all this weakening, but, well, I can't see it. I can't see the direct way. So queen h3, g takes f5. If, yeah, probably the question was about queen h3, not here, but after all these exchanges. But, yeah, white has just some initiative, but not more. It feels like that white has to be much better here. So for example, if I play something like queen g5, g takes f5, let's say this check, bishop g7, queen f5 now, attacking h7, well, knight g6 is possible. And again, I'm not sure at all what is going on. So here it looks like black is just fine. Yeah, so this position deserves further analysis. It was not that simple as I thought. But of course, after f6 and knight e4, white has a great advantage. So the rest is just strange play from my side. So here, immediate bishop e4 is of course much better than taking on e5. I don't have to take on e5 here. So bishop takes e4, queen takes e4 is absolutely winning position for white. No compensation, nothing. So I don't know why. Why did I take this on e5? I have no idea. Anyways, very interesting game. Thanks a lot. So I would play the last game today. So let's pick somebody. Archon 01. Yeah. Engine agrees with queen f4. Well, maybe. I have no idea how this engine evaluates the position, how this thing makes decisions. G takes f5, rook e3. Well, I was too deep. Yeah, it feels like white has a compensation even after losing the piece, but I wasn't sure at all about this. Anyways, so it will be the last game today. Thanks in advance for being with me. So if you want to join me during these streams and play against me, just do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can find the link just under my name, and you can additionally turn on notifications so that every time when I'm online you will get the notification. So you will have no chance even to miss the stream when it takes place. So the next vulnerabilities show will be this coming Friday on Chess24. To play there, you need a premium membership. To watch this, well, you have to be just registered on Chess24. As for tomorrow, there will be a next episode of Training Tuesday, a show for those who want to improve in chess. And this one is also a premium show, so even to watch it, you need a premium membership on Chess24. But in general, it's worth doing. You get a lot of benefits. It's not only my opinion, you can ask anybody. So Kramnik student, for example, who's named Sub on chat. Also Miktal. They can tell you how is it to be a premium member of Chess24. Okay. Knight h5 now looks very tempting. Want to counterattack. Steve Martin says, thanks for the stream. You're welcome. You are welcome. I'm happy that you're here. So it feels like I achieve my sub goal. So to stick to 2500s, so to be well above this level, so at the moment is 2560. But my main goal was to tell you something new maybe about chess in general. So if you found this stream instructive and if you became even slightly better in a sense of understanding chess, I'm just happy. That was my main goal. As for my personal goals, I can do it without streams, right? So now it feels like I can take on g2 if I want. Feels like a good idea. But b7 is actually now henning. So I don't really want to give up this pawn anymore, so let's start with the b5 move. Knight e1, okay, preventing knight takes g2. And now, what to do in this position? b4 looks very tempting now, so let's go. Let's go and attack. To take on c3 first, I think. Prior to going away. Because now the b file is open, right? Right, good. Good achievement. So this file will be used for attack. Yeah, good perspectives. Good position. Ugly opponent's knights. Now let's go to the b file. It's getting hot there. Along the b file, I mean. I still have to do something with this annoying queen. Let's start with this move, because there is no useful work on g6. And now I want to get here on b6 just to approach this queen. Yep. This is done. What is next? Next can be a5, a4, a3. Let's do it. b3 is weak. Let's go there with the knight. Counter-attack in the center, or first get into b3. I think, yeah, I'm not in a rush. Now the rook on b8 is no longer needed. Let's regroup the pieces. Let's regroup the pieces somehow. Let's take this. And now just d5. So white's pieces are misplaced. I have to use it. Have to use it somehow. So takes on d4 with the queen. Looks very tempting. All right. This knight comes to play. Okay, at very least, I have a good pawn structure. Pawn on a3 is henning, so I'll take it with pleasure. Now I have very dangerous passed pawn. In addition to all the advantages of my position. Have to be careful about opponent's counterplay as well. So one more check. Just to make sure that the G file is closed. And now what? Queen here. 17 seconds only, but position is absolutely winning. Takes. Takes here. Check. One more check. Checkmate in 2 moves maximum. Yeah, 2 moves at max. All right, not a bad game, right? Not a bad game. Well, probably both sides could have played better. So I guess it was a mistake to give him a chance to play b5 before. In fact, I already had very comfortable position after getting to f4 with the knight. So maybe it was better for white to try this queen takes b7, although it looked quite dangerous, right? Still having the king on e1. So I can't probably trap the queen, but I can get to the second rank, which is annoying. After rook b8, let's say, queen takes c7 and rook takes b2. Now I have serious threats connected with knight f4. But who knows? Maybe that was the best chance because here white can castle. Probably it was better for me to start with the knight f4, attacking d3. But here after castling, well, I'm not sure I have everything that I want in this position. So let's say after knight takes g2, knight takes g2, rook f3, c7 is still hanging. So well, this position is unclear in my opinion. But okay, anyways, as I said, thanks a lot for being with me this evening. It was a definitely hard day's night. I was a bit tired, but well, I scored not very bad, right? If compared to previous streams, it was much better today. And as I said, the next stream will be on Friday on Chess24. As for my own streams on Lichess, I'm planning to make this Saturday, Sunday, Monday, just every week from now. So the next Lichess stream is planned for the morning of Saturday. But if you subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn on notifications, well, you will be just notified every time when I'm online. All right, it's a good idea, right? So as for the link, you can find it just under my name. Have a nice evening, have a nice week. See you soon. Bye-bye.